Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.
Liz Sumner of Fox Point is a Democratic candidate in the 23rd Assembly District. Liz, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
On your campaign website, you identify several key issues: healthcare, local control, education. Let's start with local control.
Sure.
You're a member of the Fox Point Village Board.
Correct.
Local governments have been dealing with levy limits since, I think, 2006.
Yes.
Some local officials say that hurts their ability to provide services. Is it time we keep levy limits, dial them back, or get rid of them?
I don't think that we should keep levy limits. I think that, potentially each municipality should be able to sort of petition for how much they would want to raise theirs, or there could just be a standard across the board amount that each municipality would be allowed to increase their limit. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge concern. In 8 years, when you're not increasing your revenues, but your expenses are going up, at some point those two things are going to cross, and we're either going to have to cut services, which are incredibly important to the residents of Fox Point and municipalities all across Wisconsin, or we're going to have to start taking on debt to pay for operational expenses. And I just think that that's incredibly irresponsible budgeting.
Okay, thank you. The impasse in the Capitol over how we pay for highways and bridges in the future. What are your thoughts on how we should pay for them?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of discussion about increasing the gas tax. That is something that I would definitely consider. But I also think that, we should be budgeting to fix our roads. A lot of money has been taken out of the infrastructure budget, and I think that, that is something that I'm hearing on doors that is incredibly important to people. And so I think that, we need to start budgeting our tax dollars for things that are important to our residents.
How big an increase in the gas tax would you be willing to support?
I don't want to commit to anything. I think that that's something that I would like to hear varying opinions on.
The talk in the Capitol, tolling is often mentioned. Your feelings on tolling?
I don't love tolling. I just think it's a lot of unnecessary construction and hoops to jump through in order to be able to drive on roads. I think we need to look at other ways to improve our infrastructure.
Another priority in your campaign website is K-12 education. There's a big increase in the current state budget for education. Is it not enough?
No, it's not. I mean, I think when you take out over $1 billion and then you put half of that back in, I don't consider that a big investment. I think we need to get back to our previous funding and then adjust for inflation. I have 2 kids in public school, so fully funding public education is incredibly important to me. I am a product of public education in Wisconsin, which put me miles above other students at university. And so I just think it's incredibly valuable. And again, along with infrastructure, that's where we need to be focusing our tax dollars.
If we had to raise an additional $400 to $500 million to put it back in our K-12 public schools, any thoughts on how to raise that money?
Well, I mean, I think we just need to readjust our budget. I think if the money was there before, then it's still there. It's just been diverted to something else and should be put back.
School choice, the voucher program started out in Milwaukee. We're seeing now statewide.
Sure.
Should it be expanded, or are you not a fan of the choice program?
Yeah, I am not a fan of the choice program. I think that our country was founded on a separation of church and state. So I have a real issue with public monies going to parochial education.
Against the backdrop of school shootings and mass shootings, tragically, do we need to change our gun laws?
Yes, definitely.
How?
Well, I think that we can start by extending background checks to all gun purchases, not just ones through a dealer, and then reinstating the 48-hour waiting period on handgun purchases. I think also, allowing police to remove guns from homes where people are threatening to harm themselves or other individuals.
The governor of Florida signed a bill raising the age to buy a weapon from 18 to 21. Is that a change you could support in Wisconsin, or hadn't you thought about it?
I guess I haven't really thought about it, but I don't know that would, I don't think that's going to keep people safer.
Okay, three questions on healthcare. Let's talk about healthcare in rural areas where you have older residents, you have young people leaving, you have more healthcare being provided by Medicare, Medicaid. Thoughts on how we protect rural healthcare, maybe improve it?
Well, I think accepting the Medicaid expansion dollars would definitely help. From what I understand, the reimbursement level for through Medicaid and Medicare is sometimes less than what it costs to provide the services. So I do think, trying to adjust the reimbursement levels could also help with that.
Okay. Some of the Medicaid rates determine what dentists are paid to provide care, and medically underserved Wisconsin residents are eligible to receive dental care through a program sponsored by state government and Delta Dental. But these clinics, as you mentioned, are struggling because of our Medicaid reimbursement rates. So should we continue to make this a priority and expand the dental preventive care program in the next budget?
Yeah, absolutely. I think oral health is incredibly important to overall physical health. And so I think that, yes, I mean, people should be encouraged to maintain their oral health. And if it requires increasing reimbursements through the public programs, then I would definitely support that.
And then the final question on healthcare. Do you think state government has a role in retaining and recruiting doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals?
Not necessarily. I think that government has a role in making Wisconsin attractive to professionals of all different industries, and including in healthcare. And so I think I would look at it more from that perspective.
Okay. A big issue in the next state budget debate will be whether we need a new state prison. The Green Bay and Waupun prisons were built in the 1800s. We're closing the two juvenile prisons. Do you think we need a new state prison?
No, I don't. I think that we are already over-incarcerating our population, and I think that we should be looking for ways to alleviate the demands on our prison system, and looking for ways to create jobs so that people aren't put in positions where they're forced to break the law in order to survive, or are put in a position where they break the law because they don't really see a future.
Any specific ideas on how to cut our prison population? We have about 20,500 in our adult institutions. Any specific thoughts on how to cut that prison population?
Well, I mean, I think one thing is just the people that are being returned to prison because of slight infractions on their probation. And I think looking at that and, trying to decide if, going out and having a drink and, I don't know, getting caught for public intoxication or something, if that's really where we want to, stake a flag in the ground as far as sending people back to prison.
The UW system budget, we've had a freeze on resident undergraduate tuition for 6 years. Should the freeze continue into a 7th and 8th year through the next state budget?
I feel like this is a lot like the levy limit question, and costs go up every year. And so I think that's revenues need to reflect that. And so I would not, I don't think that we need to freeze tuition.
The $4.5 billion in state and local potential tax incentives for Foxconn, wise investment?
I would disagree. I certainly hope that we do see the return on this investment that our governor is promising, but I'm not very confident that we will.
Okay. Your position on both legalizing recreational and medical marijuana?
I think ultimately I would say yes to legalizing in both situations. I do think that we should start with medical marijuana, and I think that as far as recreational, we need to set some limits on that. Just like with the drinking age, we should be looking at that for recreational use. And I also think it would be really important for us to look at some of the states that have already gone through this and, and pick up best practices so that, we can implement them here.
when you meet voters in your district, of the three issues that your campaign website highlighted, healthcare, local control, education, are those the top three issues that you're hearing, or are there some other issues that are concerning?
Well, my campaign website does also highlight the environment and gun control.
Please.
And what the two issues that I have heard the most at the door are the environment and education.
What are you hearing on the environment?
Yeah, people are just incredibly concerned about what's happening at the state level as far as the defunding of the DNR, its inability to enforce a lot of the regulations that we do have at the state level, and then also a lot of the passes that are being given to mining companies and Foxconn. People are really worried about what our state is going to look like in 30 years. In addition, these CAFOs that are polluting our groundwater and rivers and lakes and drinking water. And I think people live in Wisconsin because they love the environment that we live in. I mean, it's a beautiful state, and we really need to figure out a way to work with business, but also to keep an eye on our environmental health.
When they mention these concerns, do you tell them that the answer is to give more resources to the DNR?
Absolutely.
Or that's your answer?
I think that's where we need to start, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the final question, there's a primary August 14th. Differences between you and your opponents on the primary?
I think we're all at different stages in our lives, and we're all good candidates in our own way. And so I guess that's probably, all that I would say about it.
And if you're the winner in the primary, differences with the incumbent?
Sure. Well, first of all, I have some local government experience. I know that he has held his seat for 12 years now, but has never, served on a local board. I also think that he is lacking in outreach to the community. There are no town halls. From what I've heard from people at doors who have reached out to him, they aren't hearing back from him, or they're just getting a form letter. And what I want to say and promise to the residents of the 23rd District is that I will not represent them like that. I want to hear about their concerns, and even if we disagree on policy, I would at least still like to hear from them.
Thank you. Liz Sumner of Fox Point is a Democratic candidate in the 23rd Assembly District. The primary is August 14th, the general election November 6th. Liz, thank you for talking to WisconsinEye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.